to the home of the Daughters of Wisdom at Chanticleer Drive. I am Sister Kathy, one of the members of the community here. This is our second episode of Chez Nous. Chez Nous, that is translated from the French, which means at home or with us, and is really a term of welcome and of hospitality, which is one of the hallmarks of the way of wisdom. Now I'm going to invite Tom over. Today, our guest chef is Father Tom Poth of the Montfort Missionaries here at Bayshore. Tom has traveled the world over his lifetime as a missionary, and one of the things he's developed over this time is a very adventurous palate. Tom is going to prepare for us today a recipe called Iranian pasta, which really comes from ancient Persia. So welcome, Tom.
Thank you. It's good to be with all of you today. Having fun in the kitchen, which is something that I grew up with my grandmother, my father, and now my family, and now my nieces and nephews are all having fun with messing around with food. And it is, as Kathy said, I've had the great opportunity to be in our Montfortian houses throughout the world, and experimenting and discovering foods that I would have never had if I stayed and lived in St. Louis all my life. So today I'm doing an interesting recipe that I actually got from my brother-in-law and my sister. This wonderful Iranian Persian mix of foods that we would normally not mix together. And so it's kind of a fun thing to do, and it's vegetarian. So all of you who would like to eat this food without eating any meat and destroying our wonderful environment, well, this is a meatless dish. So we're going to have some fun. I did some pre-cooking because it takes a little time to put things together. So today I have here, this is eggplant that's been roasted on the barbecue pit, which gives it a nice smoky kind of flavor. And so that's going to be part of our recipe. There's some things that you can't find in the recipe. I'm going to step over here to get my recipe. There's a kind of food that's Persian that's called, well, I don't know how you say it. It's K-A-S-H-K, kashk. And I have not been able to find it, but there's a substitute for that. So it's mixing creme fraiche with Parmesan cheese and with some water, and I'll cook that in a moment. So that's one ingredient that we have a hard time finding. Everything else is really possible to find. I've also cooked ahead of time the linguine, or if you were able to find it, it's called, and I had to spell it again, R-E-S-H-T-E-H. I have no idea how to say that. But I was able to find online a Persian type of linguine pasta, so I ordered that, and it's eggless. So those of you who are vegans, you could have fun, and it's easy to order online. Okay, so we're going to get together. We're going to start. So first we're going to put in here, and all this has been measured out, and you have the recipe. So this is the creme fraiche. You're going to mix this with water, 5 tablespoons of water, and we're going to cook this on a low heat on the stove. And we're going to mix this into this, the Parmesan cheese. And we slowly cook this, so you're going to come with me over here to the wonderful stove here at Chez Nous. So we cook this on a slow heat until it's nicely melted together, and then we let that cool after that cooks. start preparing the mixture here. So when you put this together, this Iranian pasta together, it's not a lasagna, but you put it together. You kind of stack it, pile it, whatever you would say, whatever words you'd use. Layer it is probably a better word. So in this pan is 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm going to cook in this olive oil some onion that's been chopped up, 1 large onion. You cook it until it's transparent. Then you're going to put into that some smashed garlic. Easy to get the skins off when you kind of beat it up a bit. Or not, depends on the garlic. And it's a 3 cloves of garlic. When you notice that everything is nicely mixed together, you can take it off the heat. This still needs a little bit more time. As my brother-in-law says to me all the time, you can never have enough garlic. So if you want more, go for it. Okay, so once you notice that the cheese, the Parmesan cheese, has melted into the creme fraiche, you can take that off and let it cool down. So usually it takes about 5 minutes or so in the oil for the onions to become transparent. All of these products that we're using today is actually possible to buy in the local stores. There's nothing complicated here. But if you want to complicate the recipe, you can go ahead and do that by looking up these different things. Online you can buy all these ingredients and have it sent to you if you want to try the originals. The cheese is an interesting cheese from the Middle Eastern country. But a lot of us are able to get the Parmesan cheese without any problem. So why make life more complicated than it already is? What's wonderful about this kind of a recipe when you're cooking onions and garlic is that the house smells great. So just pretend that that's what you're doing right now as you're watching this. This chef, Otto Linghi, this is where this recipe comes from. He is an interesting chef. He was raised in Israel, moved to London, and became, obviously went through training, became a chef, and he's now a master chef. Has several books. This is from a book called More Plenty, I believe is the name of it, or Plenty More. I think I have it turned around. All of his recipes tend to be vegetarian, and I can tell you from experience that he's got a lot of great recipes to work with. Highly recommend looking for his book. You'll see the recipe that'll be online here. He's an interesting chef because he wanted to combine flavors of Palestinian flavors with Israeli flavors and make that available for folks. And he's a very interesting chef, interesting philosophy that he works from. And in our times right now, it's probably good for us to try to mingle different philosophies and understand other cultures and what people do with food. It's good to open up our worlds to understand different people, and usually food is a great way to learn about other people. So it's great to be a little adventuresome. This is starting to get translucent. Now we can put the garlic in. But once you can smell the garlic, you know that that's fusing into the onions. So you're ready to begin to add the eggplant. And this eggplant was, when it was cooked, you let it drain for a while to get as much water out of it as you can. Now, just to check the recipe, make sure I'm doing this correctly. Into this I put a teaspoon of salt, some black pepper, and the cumin seed. So I had that prepared. So I don't use cumin seed, I use a smoked cumin. For the salt, I use a Himalayan pink salt. And pepper. Freshly ground pepper is always wonderful to use. Let those flavors cook into each other. And then the final flavor I'm going to add to this is fresh lime. I think the recipe says a couple teaspoons of lime. What's it say? It says 2 tablespoons, which is about 1/2 of a lime. But I'm going to put a little bit more in because I like the flavor of citrus. Growing up in the countryside of St. Louis, I was raised in the rural parts of St. Louis, a place called Florissant. My father really enjoyed eggplant, but he was the kind of guy that took eggplant and sliced it, breaded it, and just cooked it on the pan like this, and that would be dinner. I didn't really like it. It was not my favorite food, but I've grown to enjoy eggplant. Certainly in this dish. Another wonderful Lebanese food is baba ganoush. Baba ganoush has a great flavor. My brother-in-law has been introducing me to ways of working with Parmesan, and certainly our Italian brothers and sisters have had some great recipes for eggplant Parmesan. So it is possible to eat it, not necessarily like we did on the farming areas. So some creativity to it. It makes it much more enjoyable. Okay, that's ready. Now we turn to our cooled it down mixture here into this. I'm going to put it back on the heat. I think that's what it tells me. All right. So now I'm going to add to this a Greek yogurt. So it says Greek yogurt, but really all you have to do is take some yogurt and put it in a just drain yogurt, and it gives you Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt just is a thicker yogurt. So what you can do is take it and put it in a colander and drain it, and then you're ready. So the trick of this is to try to not cook it at a very high heat, and I hope what will happen here is that it will not separate. You cook this for about 5 minutes. Let that cook on the heat there. A couple minutes more. So it says keep an eye on that mixture so that the yogurt doesn't separate from the other mixture. So we have our mixtures together. So now we're ready to put it all together. Take a nice, beautiful bowl. You put into that the pasta. So the bottom layer is the pasta. That's mixed with some dried mint, two teaspoons of dried mint that's been sitting in oil. And you mix that into the pasta as the base. With a little bit more. You can never have enough olive oil, just like you can never have enough garlic. You kind of toss that together. If you have any vegan friends, I can recommend this as a great recipe. I've offered it to many folks around the country actually that I've visited, and it's been always a big hit. Okay, so on top of this, you place the eggplant mixture. Try to even it across. top of that, you place the cream. And on top of that, you pour the saffron water. And if you like, you can even try to get some of those saffron threads out there. Depends on if folks like the flavor of saffron. This saffron was sent to me by a friend in Connecticut who just had, I don't know if it was a family member, somebody came from Middle East and brought her some wonderful saffron, which is great because saffron tends to be a little more expensive item. And then on top of that, you take some fresh mint and that gets placed on top. It's an unusual dish because it's things that we don't work with here in the States. Using mint for a dinner is kind of unusual, but it's very popular in the Middle East. And there you go. We now have Iranian pasta. Hi there. Now we're doing the best part of food. It's at the table. People are ready to eat. We got to go for it. The recommendation for cutting this, it's almost like a lasagna. Slice it in whatever way you want, if it's squares. And then what we'll try to do is scoop out pieces for folks to enjoy.
Interesting. Yes.
Okay. And of course, as always, the first one is a little complicated.
Yes.
You have to bring the.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
All right.
There's one.
Doesn't it look wonderful?
Wow.
Okay.
This is a feast.
It is.
And enjoy.